Hello, I'm Iggy Ayope, Chief Investment Officer of TU Network, and you're watching Taking Stock.
2 minutes to close here for the closing bell here on the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange. And what a wild day it has been. We are expected to see the major market indexes finish in mixed territory, but we could, depending on how the closing auction goes, have yet another all-time high for the S&P 500. We did hit that crucial psychological mark of 7,000 shortly after the open. Pared back some of those gains, we are expected to see the benchmark index finish right around 69.82, a hair above yesterday's all-time high close. Technology stocks, energy stocks, and telecom, those are your big winners today in the S&P 500, with losses including staples, healthcare, and real estate. Welcome to the broadcast, one and all. You are watching Taking Stock. I'm your host today, JD Durkin. We are live on the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange. In just a moment, we got the team from Silicon Alley. They are here to do the honors from the big board. The Mag 7, what a day it promises to be. A handful of earnings on tap today and tomorrow. They are in mixed territory for the day. NVIDIA, the standout outperformer, up about 1.5%. Apple leading losses down about 0.6%. Volatility down on the day, and despite all of the macro and geopolitical news, the 10-year Treasury yield, for the most part, pretty unchanged. The dollar is up after falling for the better part of the last 2 weeks as well. Gold at an all-time high, currently right around 53.37, and silver back up very close to all-time high territory, trading right around 114. We'll bring in Jay Woods after the bell for his take, but first, time now for the closing bell. There you go. Made us wait there for the third strike of the gavel. I like that. All right. Oh, wow. Look at the see, I spoke too soon. This is what happens when you do this and you prepare and you say we could have all-time highs. The S&P 500 looks like it will finish down 0.01%, 69.78. The Dow, however, in positive territory. The New York Stock Exchange Composite Index and the small caps both down as well. UNH, the big winner out of the Dow after yesterday's session, down 20%. NVIDIA and Johnson & Johnson, a strong session as well. Let's bring in the man himself, a good friend of mine and a good friend of ours, the great Jay Woods of Freedom Capital Markets and a CNBC contributor. Thank you for being here for Fed Day, nonetheless.
Yeah, not a new high day, but oh so close.
Oh, so close.
We did hit 7,000 today.
We did hit 7,000 early this morning, and I know Peter Tuckman.
Peter Tuckman, where's the hat?
We want the hat. We were looking for 7.
We can't bring out the hat.
It's bad mojo.
We need to close. We need to close at 7,000.
Out for a moment, but we're not hanging out.
What did you see for price action today as we got closer to the Fed announcement and the press conference from Powell?
Well, let's talk about the press conference from Powell first. Fed was a nothing burger. We expected that. We wanted to hear more of the soap opera behind the scenes. What about Fed independence? Are you going to stay on after your Fed chairman role ends? How about the Lisa Cook hearing? He said it was the most important hearing in the Fed's history, 113 years. We did hear something about that. That was kind of important. But when it came to policy, smooth sailing right now. You talk about that, no landing scenario. Remember we used to talk about flying the plane. Are they going to soft land, hard land, no land?
The plane analogy.
This has been the no landing for a year, and he's navigating it brilliantly, but no one's really talking about that. So what did we do? It was 69.72 the S&P 500 was when the press conference, at 2 o'clock when the announcement was released. 69.78. The most boring reaction to a Fed meeting I can recall in a decade. So that was a nothing burger. What we're really going to be cooking on is earnings after the close today. We've got 3 magnificent ones. I know you've already probably talked about them because you're on top of your game, but we have Meta, Microsoft, then we have Tesla, of course, and then tomorrow Apple. So when these 4 stocks report, that's 17% weighting in the S&P 500. They're going to move markets. And right now, when I look at those stocks, I see topping formations. They're at key pivotal technical points. We're going to see which way they go any minute now, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Well, we'll revisit that in just a second. Let's go back to Powell's press conference, his anti-penultimate, which I think is third to last press conference we're going to get from Powell here.
The penultimate is second to last, so anti-penultimate is the third to last. Thank you for reading my newsletter. Clearly taken from that, so I appreciate that.
Sign up for this man's newsletter. Hits your inbox and gets you ready every Sunday for the week ahead. Warsh, reader. We're waiting for some announcement at some point from the president. Powell was asked a lot of those kind of palace intrigue questions. He very rarely took the bait, but that Lisa Cook Supreme Court one, that was an interesting comment. I agree.
Yeah, well, that shows what's important to him, and that's the independence of the Fed. So when someone's coming after a Fed official for reasons that he believes are unjust or something that they can police themselves, just like he's being attacked because of the renovations on the building, he's going to fight back, and that's kind of good to see. We saw it with the Fed results today. 2 dissenters, only a quarter of a point from Mr. Myron, so that was interesting, and this was his last time to vote. And then Chris Waller, the other dissenter, also a nominee for the Fed position. So very interesting politics going on with the dissents. But yeah, him talking about that was very important because I think his legacy, he wants that Fed to remain independent. And now that leads us to the question over the next 3 months, the next 2 meetings, the penultimate meeting and the final meeting, whether or not he is going to stay on and be a voting member of the committee, because his term's not over. His chairmanship is, but he can still be there, and that could be a thorn in the side to the president for years to come.
Jay Woods, you talked about a wild week of earnings. 20% of the S&P, 1/3 of all Dow names reporting this week. But as for the 3 kind of mega caps reporting today, let's talk Meta. Poster child of the AI trade decline. What's been the narrative around this?
Okay, well, let's go back in time to a quarter ago at this point in time, the day before Meta and Microsoft reported earnings. They were trading at all-time highs. And guess what? The earnings were good. And what did we get concerned about? That cap spend, that AI story. It's still out there. They're still running on all cylinders, but the market, the participants, the you and I's of the world, the everyday viewer here is selling off because they want to see results. The spend is a little too much. They want to get that under control. So as they go into earnings, the technician in me sees them below 200-day moving averages, sees topping formations. They can break above it. That would be fantastic. We're back on our way to making a run over time at all-time highs in those stocks. I don't see it jumping, but we're worried about that CapEx spend and the results, and we'll see. The JV companies reported today, those would be the ASMLs and the Texas Instruments, did well, but not all good earnings results are rewarded with price action, and we've seen that. It started with Microsoft and the poster child Meta. Will it continue this quarter? Will it not? We'll find out in minutes.
We'll find out in the next few minutes. We got Apple tomorrow after the bell as well. The great Jay Woods, Chief Market Strategist at Freedom Capital Markets. Sign up for this man's newsletter. What are you doing if you haven't already? Thanks for being here as always, my man. Good to have you. Josh will grab your microphone. Howie, you and I are going to head this way. And let's talk about another company that reported quarterly results early this morning. Troy, I got to give you a shout out while the camera's coming through. You can't just stand there and not be acknowledged. All right, highlights from the Starbucks call. Missing on the bottom line, reporting 56 cents adjusted versus the street's expectations of 59 and a beat on revenue. But really the real headline for Starbucks stock, global same-store sales growing 4% and traffic growing 3% for the first time in the last 2 years. We did see the stock shoot up to as high as 104, pulled back off those elevated levels as we got a little later on in the day. This is all part of the ongoing turnaround strategy from new Starbucks CEO Brian Niccol. He's been in the role since September of 2024. Starbucks plans to open 600 new locations this fiscal year. Shares are up already about 15% from the start of 2026. Howard, before we toss to break, let's take a look at these notables. There are 21 publicly traded companies in the world that have a ticker symbol that is only a single letter. Why not? Let's look at 2 of them. We'll start with T for AT&T, a beat on top and bottom line reporting earlier this morning. 52 cents adjusted, better than expected guidance for the next 3 years as well. The company says it expects service revenue growth in the low single-digit range annually. There are some concerns among investors over the wireless price wars. We'll hear a lot more from Verizon when they report Friday and T-Mobile when they report February 11th. Shares of AT&T down about 2% here in 2026. And finally, Howie, how about we swing over this way? We take a look at stock. V is for Visa. I feel like this is Sesame Street segment. Up about 0.5% on the day. They report tomorrow after the close. Shares fell about 10% in early January. We are expecting to see revenue growth of about 12% year over year and adjusted earnings per share of $3.14. This stock has only missed revenue estimates once in the last 2 years and is down about 5% so far here year to date. All right, we now bring you the latest from Scarlett Sieber at Money 2020, and we will pick up with the rest of the Taking Stock broadcast right after this.
Welcome back. I'm Scarlett Sieber from Money 2020, and this is Jargon Translator, where we decode the finance buzzwords that sound like alphabet soup, but actually run the world. Today's term, EMV. No, it's not a new electronic car. That'd be pretty cool though. It stands for Europay MasterCard Visa. Here's the deal. EMV is the global standard for those little chips in your credit and debit cards. You know what I'm talking about, right? The ones that are kind of annoying when you go to pay for the bill and they're like, hey, you need to stick that in here? That one. The ones that made swiping feel like something from the Stone Age? That is EMV in action. Why should you care? And why do we care? Because it's all about security, baby. Before EMV, magnetic stripes were basically an open invitation for fraudsters. Copy the stripe, clone the card, party like it's 1999. EMV chips change the game by creating a unique transaction code every time you pay. Translation, even if someone steals your data, they can't reuse it. A fun fact, EMV adoption slashed counterfeit card fraud by more than 70% in markets that rolled this out. Here's the catch though, EMV doesn't stop online fraud because you're not sticking the card in, right? That's why card not present scams are still such a headache. So next time you dip your card and wait those awkward 2 seconds, remember, that chip is doing the heavy lifting to keep you and your money safe. EMV, because nothing says progress like turning your swipe into a secure little chip with superhero powers. And with that, that is your jargon translated.
Welcome back to the show. Time now for the latest headlines in the world of fintech, crypto, and artificial intelligence for this Fed Day edition of Taking Stock. First off, the crypto majors are now down in negative territory. Bitcoin selling off only 0.3%. Comparable pressure for ETH, while Solana is down 1.4% at this hour. Next up, Amazon set to cut 16,000 corporate roles as it restructures to move faster on artificial intelligence, reduce bureaucracy, and shift resources towards things like automation and cloud across the business. And finally, Dario Amodei, CEO of Anthropic, is warning humanity may not be, in his words, mature enough to handle advanced AI, even as his own firm continues to build increasingly powerful models he says could pose major security risks. All right, please welcome into the broadcast Mr. Michael Roberts. Michael is the Executive Director of the Comprehensive Youth Development. Join us here on the trading floor of the Big Board. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Really good to have you. Can we start first and foremost, what is the Comprehensive Youth Development? Who do you serve? What should we know about it?
We serve overage and undercredited young people here in New York City and New York City high schools. We have 3 main high schools, Manhattan Comprehensive Night and Day, which is the only night high school in New York City, City As School, as well as the High School for Health Professions and Human Services. And we do partnerships with CUNY, where we're running workforce development programs with BMCC, training kids as medical billing encoders, EMTs, and CSPs.
What is the type of support that so many of these young students need?
Well, right now, a lot of young people are looking at what their futures are going to be. And one of the things we try and do from the moment they enter our high schools is provide them with an advocate, a counselor, who works with them individually on their plan for life after high school. And we say life after high school because it's not just about college. In the workforce of today, there's certifications, technologies, digital ways to make a living. And so we try and get them as much information so they can make a real plan.
How do you measure success? What are the actual kind of follow-throughs on success and kind of indexing the impact of the program on the students you serve?
Well, one of the outcomes we look at is that 90% plus have a post-secondary plan, whether it's in career, college, certification, or workforce, or just employment, or going to the civil service or the Army, but that they have an actual plan that they can actualize.
Why finance and nonprofit should combine for further youth development? That's an interesting one, especially down here at the New York Stock Exchange. What do you follow there?
Well, finance is the lifeblood for people to survive in New York City, correct? Mm-hmm. And so giving our kids a platform to earn as they learn, as they become young adults and break the cycle of poverty is one of the most important things to us as an organization.
Before I let you go, let the people know how can they get involved or where should they head if they want to learn more about the amazing work that you've been doing here for some really important New York City schools.
You can go to our website, www.Comprehensive Youth Development. You can be a volunteer, you can be a donor, or you can be a listener or an advocate. Right now, kids need your support.
Michael Roberts is the Executive Director of Comprehensive Youth Development here, making his debut here on Taking Stock. You're welcome back anytime.
Indeed.
Congratulations on all the success.
Thank
really
you
nice
for
to have
having
you.
us.
Folks, don't go anywhere. Much more Taking Stock coming up after this quick break. Welcome back to Taking Stock live from the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange. For those who may have missed it, First Lady Melania Trump was here at the big board earlier this morning to ring the opening bell in celebration of the release of her upcoming film, Melania, which will be released on January 30th. Take a look. Welcome back to the show. You're watching Taking Stock live from the New York Stock Exchange. We'll give you the latest in the world of startups, raises, and round headlines you need for your Wednesday afternoon. First up, SpaceX weighing a mid-June IPO that could value the company at, and this is true, $1.5 trillion, yes, trillion with a T, dollars. It's a move that would make it, if it goes through, the largest public offering in history. Next up, Mesh has reached unicorn status after raising $75 million in a Series C led by Dragonfly. And finally, the AI funding war is accelerated, with Anthropic reportedly doubling its latest raise to $20 billion for a valuation of $350 billion, while SoftBank is in talks to invest up to $30 billion more into OpenAI. All this as investors bet big on the future of foundation models. Join us down here now on the show for not a one-on-one interview, I guess a one-on-two interview. Say hello here to Ben Lair. He is the managing partner at Lair Hippo Ventures, as well as John Borthwick, the CEO of BetaWorks. John, Ben, great to have both of you guys. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, great to have you. First and foremost, can get your experience to ring the closing bell and to be down here at the New York Stock Exchange with us today.
It was a thrill. I had the good fortune of ringing the bell a few times with portfolio companies in the past when they went public, and it's been a little slow on IPOs the last few years, as you know, so it's nice to be back, and very excited about 30 years in New York tech.
That's awesome. Congratulations. How about for you, John?
It was awesome. I think, I've been in the tech business both as a builder and as an investor for about 30 years, and New York has come a long way, and it was just a total pleasure to be here for New York and for the tech community and for our companies.
John, in what way have you seen the tech ecosystem here in New York City evolve over the last 3 decades?
I think it's just grown like so much in size. The quality of people and talent. I remember when I first started my company in the early 90s, in 94, it was, people didn't really know what the web was, and it was very hard to get people on board and interested. The depths of engineering talent, the amount of interest in AI. You talked at the top about AI, and AI is transforming every corner of every industry and every part of our world. And these models, be they foundation models or be they, small local models, open source models, are being embedded in technology and every piece of our work life, play life, and life. And so I think it's a very exciting time. And New York is really good at building apps. And so I think as things migrate to the app layer, which they are definitely starting to do, we're going to see a lot more New York tech companies here blossom.
Yeah, Ben, how about for you? I wonder in what ways the general tech landscape here has evolved, in what ways it stayed the same, and how that kind of feeds into your broader work and your priorities here in 2026.
Yeah, look, 30 years ago I was a small child, so it's changed a bit for me.
I think so.
I got into tech in New York 20 years ago out of college, grew up in New York, moved back here, and when I started in the New York tech scene, everybody in the New York tech scene would fit in this room and maybe fit in this corner of this room. And it's just been amazing to see the consistent growth and the interest in technology. When I graduated from college, I didn't know what venture capital was. And today I think that is like the dream job for like a whole generation of kids who want to come and want to like participate in this next like like the next leg of innovation.
Yeah, we talk so much about Silicon Valley out in California when people talk tech. What are people missing about maybe the opportunities for the tech landscape right here in the Big Apple? I'll start with you, Ben.
Look, I think that New York has very clearly established itself as the other tech metropolis in the U.S. I mean, when we got started, New York was a pimple. New York is now a place where you can do anything, you can build any kind of company. Obviously, the sort of heart of the large language models and big tech remains out west, but as John mentioned, there is so much incredible innovation happening here. New York is the best place to live in the world, and there's going to be a bunch of fantastic founders that pick the quality of life here and the diversity and just the interesting culture that exists in New York over the sort of one-note life that you get in San Francisco.
Absolutely. And I'll wrap things up. I got about 30 seconds. What most excites you about where the tech landscape is today in 2026, John?
Yeah, I think that it's all about AI, and AI is becoming everything, and so it's bleeding into sort of every piece of industry and of potential technologies. And I think that I'm excited to see what the builders in New York do in the next 12, 18, 5 years. It's like this is an amazing city for tech, and I'm proud to be part of it.
All right, John, Ben, welcome to the New York Stock Exchange. Welcome back to the Stock Exchange, I should say. Great to have both of you guys here. Come back anytime.
Appreciate it. Thank
Folks,
you.
don't go anywhere. Much more Taking Stock coming up right after this. Of Taking Stock, we do want to share a very special moment from the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange yesterday. Peter Tuchman, longtime floor broker and the son of 2 Holocaust survivors, got to have a one-on-one conversation with Nate Leipziger, himself a Holocaust survivor and an educator. It was an incredible conversation. We share it with you now. Take a look.
So I've been a broker here for 41 years. I'm the longest standing broker on the floor of the stock exchange.
How old are you?
I've been 55 for 10 years.
For 10 years. So you're 99.
I'm
61. 67.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm 97.
You're 97.
So I got 30 years on
You do. So my parents were both Holocaust survivors.
Yeah.
I'm the only child of a survivor who's
wonderful.
worked here on the floor. My father was a doctor.
Okay.
They came to the States in 1949.
Right.
My parents both met in DP camp, and they
got married.
They fell in love and came to America.
Yeah.
And he went on to become a doctor, and she was his
Wonderful.
She was the love of his life.
That's
and
terrific.
They lived to be 97.
That's wonderful that your father had the opportunity to go to school.
Yeah.
deported me as well.
Correct. So he was the only Jewish student allowed in a German medical school after the war.
How-
He went to medical school in Heidelberg.
Oh, okay. I came to Canada, and then in 1950, I went to University of Toronto, and I graduated in electrical engineering.
Wow. Okay. So there were a number of how many groups of Jews came out of the camps that went to Canada? Was it larger? The emigrations, not so much
To Canada
to Canada.
was 1/10 of the population that came to America. About
Why did you end up going to Canada?
because my father had 8. There were 8 of them. He was the youngest of the boys. The oldest of the boy came to Canada in 1912,
Before
and he was the only one that survived. My father lost 2 brothers and 4 sisters, on all their siblings and all of their spouses, except 4 of us. So 4 of the 14 cousins that were in Poland survived. And so the choice was no, there was no choice.
there was no choice.
Yes,
That
we
was
had
your one
to-
shot to get to come abroad. You had to go to Canada.
We had to, the only family that we had was my uncle Dave.
Because we needed a sponsor, right? You needed
children.
someone to sort of
Well, yeah,
represent you.
There was a sponsor. Well, yeah. Well, at the time, it took us from 1948 to come because they rejected us twice.
Right.
And
How old were you during the war?
I was 50. Well, I mean, I started at 11,
Right.
and the war ended. I was 17. I was after 2.5 years in the concentration camps and ghettos and slave labor, etc.
Which camps were you in?
Well, I started in Auschwitz,
Right.
and then I went to 6 more. So you want me to recite
No,
them?
no, it's okay. It's the same thing. My parents both did
Right.
the rounds.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was liberated in a sub camp of Dachau,
Okay.
in a little camp,
By who? American,
the
British?
American Third American Army,
Right.
and I was. The war ended on May the 8th,
Right.
and I got typhus fever. Came out on May the 10th,
Right.
and I almost died.
My father also got typhus and almost died after liberation.
Yes, and a little nurse, a nun, saved my life by putting compresses on my head because they didn't have anything except aspirin.
Right.
They had penicillin, but they wouldn't give it to me.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
And then what did you do when you came? So you went to university and became an engineer?
I went to Poland to find out who was still alive. Well, that's where I found my 4 cousins. And my mother's 2 sisters survived because they were hidden by righteous among the nations. So that's always a very important aspect of my talking to students about what happened, is to remember the righteous among the nations who were the ones that saved, at the risk of their own lives, they saved thousands of Jewish lives. So we have to be very thankful and remembering them.
Yeah. Thank you. What about the time you?